Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. It's Thursday. I'm Peter Martin. Thank you very much for your company. Alan Ruff and Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail joins us rather unusually on a Thursday, but because he's sitting in Gordon's chair, I'm sure he's going to say something controversial. Here's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, let's cut to the big news. It is, of course, that the SFA have sacked Alex McLeish as Scotland boss. Let's get the latest on that from our reporter at Hampden, Gabriel Antoniazzi.
The SFA today have sacked Alex McLeish after 12 games and just 14 months in charge. Of course, he won the Nations League in November, but they only won 5 matches, all against countries ranked below Scotland. Chief Executive Ian Maxwell highlighted poor performances. Of course, there was the humiliation in Kazakhstan, the 3-0 loss, but also several other uninspiring games, such as the 2-0 win against the world's worst ranked side, San Marino. Now, the timing of it could irk some Scotland fans. It's come 3 weeks after there were reports he was due to be sacked and 4 weeks since the Kazakhstan game. But on the SFA side of things, it may make sense. It gives them time to bring in a successor before the June qualifiers. And also the games in June are against Cyprus at home and Belgium away, so they should be 2 foregone conclusions, which gives you time to build up to the big September fixtures when Scotland welcome both Russia and Belgium here at Hampden Park. In terms of a successor, the early favourites are Steve Clarke, the Kilmarnock manager, Scott Gemmell, the under-21s manager, or Malcolm Mackay, who is currently working at the SFA, or even David Moyes. But it remains to be seen who and where the SFA go from here.
Yep, apologies for the quality of Gabriel coming through there from Hampden Park. But nevertheless, we caught the sentiment of it, which is basically now the SFA have to look for a new manager. They dithered about for 2 or 3 weeks, especially on the back of that newspaper report. And quite simply, here are the statements made by the SFA, first of all, with regards to Alex McLeish. Ian Maxwell, the SFA Chief Executive. The decision to part company was not an easy one. It was only taken after full consideration by the board and after an honest and respectful conversation between myself and Alec earlier in the week. Ultimately, the performances and results as a whole in the past year, and in particular the manner of the defeat in Kazakhstan, did not indicate the progress expected with a squad we believe to be capable of achieving more. With that in mind, it was agreed that we should seek to recruit a new management team to take us forward for the remainder of the European qualifying campaign. Alex McLeish has responded with a statement today, and of course, as you would expect, a man with a bit of class. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have managed my country for a second time and leave knowing that I gave my all in pursuit of success. I'm proud that together we finished top of our UEFA Nations League group and qualified for the UEFA Euro 2020 playoffs, which gives us a real opportunity to reach a major tournament for the first time in over 20 years. I'm also pleased to have given many younger players a first taste of international football that will stand them and the country in good stead for the future. Hugh MacDonald, if indeed he's being sacked because Kazakhstan wasn't good enough and they were uninspiring against San Marino, I think 3 weeks is a long time, and I think it's a disgrace to leave him hung out to dry.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like absolutely an organisation that's not fit for purpose, a way of working, a process which is at best antiquated and at worst damaging and injurious to the health and character of people. We can only imagine what Alex McLeish has been feeling over the last 3 weeks, where he's been reading stories which have now proved to be correct, that he was going to be sacked, that he was at the centre of this absolute maelstrom in social media, and all he needed was a statement from the SFA to say, Alec, you're out, or Alec, we back you. It really is that simple. People will say it's not because there's so many people on the board, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't take long to congregate 8 or 9 minds together, make a decision and stick to it.
Yeah, and Ruffy, you have an alternative view on that because basically there was a delay because of what reason?
No, I'm saying in any other organisation there might have been an easy way out, but not in the SFA. You know, they've decided there was a committee meeting here today, and that's when they were going to get round the table and decide it. You know, I do believe there was contact with Alec in that 3 weeks, you know, to tell him and keep him up to date what was going to happen. I think there was a divide in the voting, whether it was 4-3 or 3-4 or whatever, and they got round the table, and whatever happened today with Alec there, they decided that it wasn't for him, and he's lost his job. And I have to say, he's went away, as you said earlier, as the guy that we all know he is. Nothing about his health or anything, which I think is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Over and above that, they could make a decision 3 weeks ago, so they had to wait till they all get round the table. No leadership. One man doesn't know what the other man's doing. Yeah,
and just again, in the midst of this, Alec McLeish and his family. So, I mean, I don't have any side to this. I mean, I said quite categorically on this programme that after the Kazakhstan result, he should be sacked. I think that's a sacking result, and I stick by that. I think if you could beat 3-0 by Kazakhstan, it just isn't good enough. That's my view. But I knew that was my view 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, overall, I mean, if you look at Alex's stats, Hugh, I've got no qualms with anyone coming up and saying, look, the results are not good enough. I mean, a win over Hungary, a couple of wins over Albania, Israel thrown into the mix as well, and then, of course, the worst team in the world, San Marino. That's fine. You know, if somebody says, look, it's just not good enough, Alec, you're a big boy, you know the score, you're sacked. But it doesn't take 3 weeks to say that.
The thing about it, Pierre, do we keep going down that road? The next guy comes in, if he has the same record as Alec, would you sack him as well?
Oh yeah.
Through it.
Well, yeah,
there's
because
no strategy.
Yeah, that's football. That's football.
Then there's no perseverance of. There's young players there who might take 2 or 3 years to get to a potential it's going to make as a team.
Yeah, Ruffy, you might be on the Partick Thistle board, but you wouldn't survive long in the Premiership on a board because at Chelsea they go, you're not doing it, bulleted. Yeah, Crystal Palace, we want to play football. 4 games into it, we've changed their mind. Let's bullet him.
No, well, there's Northern Ireland, poor results. Did they sack him? No, they hung on in there and they ended up going to big tournaments.
Yeah,
you know, because players, it's all about players at your disposal. If we get any other players out there that the next manager's not going to pick,
I agree with
make us a better side.
I agree that to a certain extent, but there are certain results where you just go, that doesn't come into play. And I think Kazakhstan, you don't see, there can be no argument, in my mind, there can be no argument that we've got the players to beat Kazakhstan.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you want me to tell you something, Hugh? And this is the one caveat to that I think contradicts it. Only due to the fact that there's been a delay. And it's this. You gave him the job. You gave him the job and said you must finish top of that Nations League and get us to a playoff. He did that. You then say to him, OK, you're now into the qualifiers proper. Nothing's been decided. It's a poor result. I think it's a result that breaks the camel's back, like you, but it's a poor result, but nothing's been decided. But if that's the case, they've hired him, they've given him a contract, he's fulfilled one part of that remit. The second part of it, it doesn't look good, but if it doesn't look good, sack him. Yeah, don't hang on with him. Don't leave him with all these casting aspersions on him.
This is my view. I mean, my view is quite strongly that, as we know, that Kazakhstan was a sacking result. If you believe otherwise, that's fine, because that's an alternative view.
Yeah.
And that's fine, it's not my view, but it's an alternative view. But if you have that view, you ride out any storm. You ride out any storm, because that's your view.
Yeah.
It's the same as if somebody comes out, if Alec had stayed on and they played a friendly against Brazil, and we beat Brazil 7-0, people would be saying to me, but you said after the Kazakhstan game you should have signed him. Well, that was my view after the Kazakhstan game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought, and that's what but you can't hold 2 views at the one time. You can't have this ambivalence for 3 weeks, Peter.
No, but this is I agree with you, and this is the part that you and I are singing from the same hymn sheet, but it's a contradiction to get to a situation where He's done what he said in the first part. The second part of it, you suddenly think, well, we're not going to stick by him, because Ruffy's saying if you're going to hold your nerve, you stick by him. They didn't do that. They waited 3 weeks, let a newspaper come out with it, and a good story. And I've said before, Keith Jackson, no smoke without fire. He's a good operator. When he's got a story like that, there's no smoke without fire. He got the story. But in the end, if that was the case, make a decision, sack the manager. Somebody tipped him the wink, and then they couldn't show any steel to eventually sack the man. Here's our quiz. As you know, when a manager is sacked, you have to start looking for a new face in there. Who is going to become the Scotland manager? How much money do we have to offer him? Will it be a lucrative contract, 3-5 years, a long-term plan, as Ruffy had suggested? Or is it just championship to championship to see where we're going? Here are the odds on who is the favourite. Scott Gemmell suddenly has come into 11-8. Steve Clark at 5-1. Gordon Strachan 6-1. Alec Neil 14-1. Malky Mackay's 10-1. Davy Moyes 11-2. Give me your thoughts, Hugh, on the runners and riders.
I think a lot of the runners there will be non-runners. I really do. I think of the names up there, the one that strikes me as the most likely is Scott Gemmell. I know they rate him in there. I know the players who make up the vast majority of the Scotland squad now that have played with him on underage level like him. He's there, he's available, he won't break the bank. I think him with an older sort of mentor in, whether it be Billy Stark or whoever, is a viable way forward. What I would like to see happen actually though is them to have a real due process, Peter, to have a process of, you know, opening it up, seeing who's out there. Is there, I said earlier on the Facebook, is there a potential Marcus Rose out there, a potential Jurgen Klopp? Is there managers at clubs throughout Europe who are looking for the next big step, and this would be part of it? Are they out there? You know, shall we go for that? I don't think they will. And that's why I think Scott Gemmell remains a worthy favourite.
Yep, okay. Ruffy, who do you want to see as the manager?
I want to see somebody with a bit of experience, somebody who's been round the block a wee bit, somebody who holds a bit of respect in the game for what he's done. And Davy Moyes fits that remit for me. We've got a lot of young international players in that dressing room. You know, whoever walks in that door, they've got to look at this guy and go, hey, I know what he's done. I know what's about him. You know, I'm going to respond to what he's doing. Nothing against Scott Gemmell. I mean, same as coaching is first class. I just feel the respect that a Scotland manager should have is somebody who's been in the game.
Yep, I'm in his camp. Hugh, I think David Moyes would be ideal for the job. My only concern is David Moyes might want to say, look, I'm going to hang about till May to see who's getting sacked in the Premier League in England.
It would be quite right to do that because he's got to keep his options open. That's my big reservation about David Moyes is whether he would want the job. That would be my big reservation. I think Davy, and I don't know him and I haven't spoken to him about this, but I think Davy would still think there's a big club job in him.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. You can give us your view across social media on Facebook, YouTube, and of course Twitter as well. We'd love to hear from you. Who would you like to see as the Scotland manager? What do you make of the way the SFA have handled the sacking of Alex McLeish? Ruffy just gave us a little insight into the indecision. They couldn't make up their minds after Kazakhstan and then held on until they had the board meeting today, and then Alex's time was up. Should there be heads rolling at the SFA, never mind the manager's head on a plate? Give us your thoughts on that as well. Okay, from one piece of uncertainty over who the manager of the national side is going to be to uncertainty over who's going to be the next Celtic manager. Neil Lennon is the interim boss, and Johnny Hayes reckons most of the players, in fact all of them, would love to see Neil Lennon in there.
Certainly the players wouldn't be against it if he got the job, I know that. But as I said, that's up for the board to make them kind of decisions. You can see how much he loves the club, how much he wants us to win. It can only be a positive for us when you have someone brings that desire into the change room. You have players that want to win games. You've got some Celtic fans in the dressing room that want to win games, know what it means to be Celtic. But now we've got a manager that I've never seen a manager love a club as much as the gaffer loves Celtic.
I still think he's in the box seat. If he delivers the treble, it'll be almost nigh impossible to stop the kind of PR that will be following him into giving them the job full time.
Yeah, I think last week the semi-final result was a big result for him. And I don't know why it should have been, because I believe that his first week in charge of Celtic was, and we look back now with big gaps and into a final of a Scottish Cup, with a treble, in their sights. But we look back to that first week, and there was a squeak on. Celtic had to go to Hearts and Hibs, and it wasn't impossible that they could lose one or both. They didn't. The manner of their victories was very encouraging, in that they came at the end to win matches. They came on strongly. So I think he's put himself in a very strong position. Yes.
Yeah, Ruffy, we're now in, and it goes back to what we're talking about. Hugh posed the question to you. Well, he answered your question, which was basically, do you keep sacking managers if they keep failing? Quite simply, you're now in a situation where he's on the verge of, he could secure the title this weekend if results were to go his way.
Yeah, I think Neil is honest enough to say it's not his team. He's went in there, I agree with Hugh, he went in a sticky situation. There was a lot of players who'd picked up injuries, big players, defence, midfield, strikers. So he went in there, steadied the ship and got the results. Not glamorous results, but he got them. So and the good thing for me is, according to the papers, he's in dialogue with the owner, which is always a good thing, if he's talking to him, so there must be some kind of dialogue going on there, and that can only be good for him.
Okay, one really, a bit of great news. Athletic Bilbao, they have an award that they present to various players from yesteryear. It's called the One Team Award. They've handed out to more than a few players, I think 5 or 6 of them so far, and they've handed one out to Billy McNeill for his services to the club. It's such a good idea. There's the Athletic Bilbao top, John Clark, Jim Craig, Bertie Auld, Ian Bankier's there as well, and representatives from Athletic Bilbao with the number 5, Billy McNeill, and I know Martin, his son, was there to pick up the award as well on his behalf. What a great day for the McNeill family. What a lovely gesture that is, Hugh. Yeah,
Atletico Madrid, a club with a fantastic tradition. I've been lucky enough to go and visit the stadium.
Bilbao,
Bilbao,
yeah.
It's Atletico Madrid as well, as because Atletico Bilbao, in the San Mamés in Bilbao. I've been lucky enough to go to that stadium and be around it and see the culture of it.
Ruffy and I are starting to laugh because we're wondering, are you going to release a statement to retract what you just said? It's just a thought. Seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah. But I was wrong. I did say Madrid. There's no way back from that.
Okay. Ruffy, do you want to add your tuppence on behalf?
No, that was just wonderful the way you dug yourself up with information of the name of the stadium.
It was brilliant. I never invite Barnsley City.
It just deflected.
Everything right, bar the right club.
Fantastic, Hugh. Yeah, absolutely. To err is human. Anyway, apart from that, what about the proposed Champions League changes that, again, could give wild card entries to clubs with a great historical importance to football? What an interesting one that is, Ruffy. You get these super clubs in there, and then they'll maybe give a special golden Willy Wonka chocolate factory ticket to some clubs.
Yeah, and then we'll have the debate of who gets that nomination and how they got it and why they got it. So if they're in that road, they really need to make sure they pick the right one.
Well, they'll be picking the right ones, and the right ones will be AC Milan and Manchester United, who don't get into the Champions League. They'll be wanting them in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at Champions League just before we finish. Best game ever in the Champions League?
Best game outside the final. I still got a lot of affection for the Istanbul match. I thought, Liverpool coming back that day I remember watching that game. But yeah, probably the best match outside of that. What about you,
I would
Ruffy?
agree with that. I think obviously the 4 goals so early on set the standard of what was going to happen, and then everything that happened after that was just box office.
Yeah, my apologies. I just took it for granted that you knew we were talking about Man City winning 4-3 and going out. If you're watching a football show, then surely you're on the case with it. Pochettino certainly set himself up. His stock is so high.
His stock's high because what he's doing is he's beating teams who have got greater resources than him, and that's the benchmark now, Peter.
And I can't let you go without just basically sneaking along in the background. Liverpool, another good win against Porto.
The end of the season is astonishing because we were talking at one time about a quadruple for Man City. Now it's tight. It's tight everywhere. There's no quadruple, obviously, and it's tight elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Liverpool in the double. It's going to be interesting. Spurs, Ajax, and of course Barca against Liverpool. Doesn't get any better than that, Ruffy, does it?
Yeah, and we always sit here and go, what kind of final would you like?
Yeah.
Who do you want?
I've not made up my mind yet.
Yeah, okay. I'll go Ajax, Liverpool. Yeah, that would be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Hugh?
as I said the other week, I've got a funny feeling for Tottenham this year.
Okay, there you have it. We're giving you the opinions. Some you like, some you don't, but that's what a football show is all about. My thanks to Alan Ruff and, of course, to Hugh MacDonald, and thanks to you for watching the programme. Good night.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.